8th Congressional District. If everyone was like Mike Capuano on this issue, we wouldn't have a problem. I'm honored to be with you today. I know a lot of people say that, but I'm honored to be with some of the hardest working people in the United States of America today, our postal workers. I'm here for a lot of reasons, but one of the most important reasons I'm here for my mom. I'm here for Ann Lynch. My mom she's a pretty amazing woman. She's a retired postal clerk and a proud member of the American Postal Workers Union. She's pretty amazing by any standards. She actually, when she was going to school, she got 2 double promotions. She actually graduated high school when she was 14 years old. 14 years old. And, of course, at 14 years old, there's not a lot of job opportunities for you, let's put it that way, with the child labor laws. And it was tough back then for a woman to go to college, especially when your family was struggling. My mom eventually went to work as a welder during World War II. She's the salt of the earth. And eventually, years later, when my dad came back from Germany and actually fought in North Africa and Italy, my dad's a United States veteran. They got married, they had 6 kids. Myself and my 5 sisters. My 2 sisters are out there somewhere. My sister Karen and my sister Linda, they're both on tour 3 at the GMF, American Postal Workers. I have a bunch of aunts who went to my mother's sisters who worked at the post office. Kay, who has since passed, but my aunt's sister's up at Marion Manor. She's about 91 years old, very proud member of the American Postal Workers Union. My brother-in-law, Kevin Conroy, United States Marine Corps. Very proud member of the National Association of Letter Carriers. My cousin Joe Morris, who's now retired but was a former business agent for the Branch 34 of the National Association of Letter Carriers. It would be dark out if I named every single member of my family who worked for the post office. So I won't do that to you. And one of my longest friends on this earth, proud member of the Mail Handlers Union, Bob Losey, is with us today. So I'm all in. I'm all in on this issue. This issue, this fight, your fight, my fight too, this is why I ran for Congress, so that I could be involved in fights like this when we are on the side of justice. I've heard more grievances than most, with my family, I've heard more grievances than most union stewards in the country. But, and I think that might have had something to do with me going in, I'm the former president of the Iron Workers, Local 7, and as luck would have it, when I get to Congress, they appointed me to the Postal Committee. So, and up until we lost the majority back in 2010, I was actually the chairman of the Postal Committee. It was a great honor for me to do that, and it's something I spent a lot of time on and I work hard at, and I think there's a solution to the crisis that we have here today. I work with a lot of your representatives in Congress. Every single one of them. I know we have here today from the mail handlers, we got John Haggerty. And as you know, they're affiliated with the Laborers International Union. And they are a brotherhood as well that's very, very supportive of the Postal Service and your employees. We have Joe Bonfilio and Lou Mandarini over here. From the American Postal Workers Union, I worked forever with your past president, Bill Burris. And now we're working with Cliff Guffey and Mike Reed down in D.C., and they've been unbelievable with us. From the National Association of Letter Carriers, Fred Rolando, your international president, has been unbelievable, as well as your local leadership here as well. From the National Association of Postal Supervisors, Bruce Moyer, Ted Keating, Jim Kalacki's with us today, and Lou Atkins. So there's been a lot going on in Congress. I want to talk about this for a minute because there's an educational part of this. You have to know what's going on in Congress. This affects your lives, your family's lives, and the retirees who were promised benefits, but now those benefits are at risk. As a matter of fact, if it wasn't for the state of our economy generally, and the fact that we're in 2 wars, Afghanistan and Iraq, and we're in the middle of the silly season with the presidential campaigns, this crisis, your crisis, the problems with the Postal Service would be a major issue. But because of everything else that's going on, we're being swept aside. We need to push this issue to the forefront so that you get the justice that you have earned and that you deserve. I also forgot to mention with the letter carriers, John Caggiano, who's been a great, great supporter of mine in Congress as well. I know he's back here. Sorry about that. The Postal Service employs about 600,000 people. Hard-working Americans, every one of them. It's also an integral part of our economic system, our infrastructure. It delivers mail, I think it's 150 million. No. Is it 150 million pieces a day, right? 150 million addresses a day, excuse me. That is the heart of our economy. And even though there's been progress towards modernization, using less people to do more jobs in a way that lowers the cost of running the Postal Service, we see now that even though we just had a contract ratified by the APWU, which was very, very modest, the postal workers, God bless them, took very little increase over the next couple of years. 0, I think, in the first year. The ink was not dry. Now, let me back up a little bit. The reason that contract was so modest was because they were promising no layoffs. They were promising that if the postal workers agreed to very modest conditions and pay increases over the next 4 years, that the Postal Service would not lay off. That was the agreement that they sat down and signed. What happened? The new Postmaster General comes right to Congress and wants to tear up that agreement so that he can lay off 120,000 postal workers. You know, as a former union president, I've had, and as a labor attorney, I had a chance to negotiate contracts for the iron workers, for the carpenters, for the stagehands, for the wardrobe workers. And I always believed that when you gave your word in a contract, you had an obligation to live up to that promise. It is very troubling. It is very troubling indeed in this country when government leaders can so easily just rip up an agreement that they signed with hardworking American people and break promises they made to retirees who worked hard for 30, 35 years and now are relying on that promise to be kept. It's also alarming that sometimes in the general public, collective bargaining rights, the rights to a safe workplace with decent working conditions, with a pension at the end of your working life, with decent health care, none of that matters. It's looked on with disdain by a lot of people on the far right. This fight is our fight. Yeah. Now, I guess a good way to describe what we're trying to do and what our enemies are trying to do, and I saw some great signs out there a little earlier about some of the other people that have bills. Let me describe to you what, yeah, there it is. Let me describe to you what Mr. Issa, he's now the full committee chairman from California. There you go. This is what his bill would do. It gives you a sense of where they're coming from, and then I'm going to describe what my bill would do and the strengths of that. The Issa bill. Now look, because they're in the majority, they got to bring that bill to subcommittee last week. We had a 6-hour hearing. I think it's up on some of the websites for the postal unions. But I tried by motion to substitute my bill for theirs, but we lost on a straight party line vote. All the Republicans voted for their bill. All the Democrats voted for mine. So that's the fight. This is what they would do. All right. Here's what Mr. Issa would do. He would actually give his bill proposes to give $10 billion of taxpayer money to the post office for a bailout, number one. But there's a catch. If at any point the Postal Service defaults on repayment of that money, the rest of his bill would go into effect. And what that does is it creates a special postal commission that basically eliminates collective bargaining, wipes out all of your collective bargaining rights, and
hell no!
And turns over control to a small commission, sort of like I don't know if you remember the BRAC proposal, where they closed down all the military bases. In his proposal, they'd be closing down post offices and large mail facilities. That's what he wants to do. He would also turn seniority upside down.
No way!
What he would do is, in instituting these layoffs, these 120,000 layoffs, he would start with laying off the senior people first.
No way!
Okay, think about this. Think about this. The people who know how the system is run, the most experienced employees for the letter carriers, mail handlers, supervisors, and letter carriers, their most knowledgeable workers would be laid off first.
No way!
The people who would be kept are the people who can't find the men's room, that don't know